There is nothing better than that new car smell. This is a Ram 2500. It's a 2024, brand new, and it's a Laramie trim, 4x4. It has all sorts of features, including what they're calling Uconnect. I believe it's Uconnect 5, but importantly, a complimentary 3-year, 36,000 mile bumper to bumper warranty, 5-year, 100,000 mile powertrain warranty on that Cummins in there, and though you didn't ask for it, an unlimited mileage, unlimited year spy machine. What? Well, I've done videos on this in the past. These vehicles essentially can gather a ton of data, not only about where the vehicle is, which is really where you are. It has Wi-Fi, Bluetooth built in, call recording, it has a microphone, GPS, all the sensors for the vehicle, and of course this is all tied to the VIN number, so your identity, your vehicle, and therefore your insurance information, they all get tied together so that they can report everything that you do with your car, which for a lot of us is anytime we travel we take our vehicles. They can report that, affect your insurance rates, potentially your credit score, test how risky you are, how much you're driving. Hey, you know what? How often have you been going to the doctor, right? Kind of interesting. Are you more willing to spend money on vacations? Do you travel a lot? How much maintenance have you not been doing, right? Or, you know, hopefully, how much have you been doing? This is all information that I don't know about you, but I don't want others to know. It's just none of their business. And before anybody gets into, well, you know, that device in your pocket has all this information of it. No. Let's not go there. While that's a whole separate topic, I already have videos on that topic. And so it's not an all or nothing. It's not a black or white, a 1 or a 0, or rather 0 to 100, right? There is a middle ground where I can say, hey, for what I can mitigate, I will mitigate. And it's not a terribly difficult thing to disable this tracking. All we need to do is disable its ability to call out using cellular service, essentially. So with some of these modifications, and every vehicle is different, and before you fool yourself, this has been around for quite a few years. I will promise you, they are not putting this service in for your benefit. As a matter of fact though, this is just kind of a funny distinction here. While I have my qualms with Ford, a lot of qualms with Ford, one thing that they do is they give you something called Ford Pass. And on the, let's see, the F53, it didn't affect any of that. We didn't have an auto stop start function that I can recall. But on the E450 Econoline chassis, on our motorhome, it had a lock unlock. You could remotely, I could have sworn you could remotely start it, but you can also locate the vehicle anyways. That's for unlimited miles. It doesn't expire. Ram, however, decides, oh yeah, we're gonna put this in here, right? And we'll give you a Wi-Fi hotspot. But after 3 months, we're gonna cut that service off along with like Sirius XM. That's a, you know, that's a normal thing. But yeah, I think it's just the Ram app that actually expires after 3 months. So we are not going to use it anyways. I find it very creepy. Let me show you how to disable it. Oh, and just a little trigger warning, brand new truck torn apart. Just for your guys' pleasure, I left this all undone, and yeah, all sorts of torn apart. And by the way, I just really love that new car smell. Not the new car tracking though, let's be honest. So there are 2 glove boxes in here. The module that we need to get access to is back here. This is a Wi-Fi and Bluetooth signal transceiver rather, and that fits right here. And then of course that Uconnect screen, which I have gently placed in the back here, that is right here. And I'll show you how to, if you so choose, how to get access to that. Believe it or not, it's 2 screws. It's just 2 screws. Go figure. Now, one thing that I did confirm while digging in last night, and I think Emma off and on was helping me, and I think I was in here for like 6 hours researching and tearing in, trying to gain access to everything. One thing I can confirm is it's a well-built unit. It is a very well-built unit. So is it worth, you know, what they're charging for these around let's see, the MSRP on this one was 84. These go well over 100,000. Absolutely not. It's not worth that amount, but they're still very nice, and I think you get good value for what it is. So not everybody will want to do this, and I should preface this with, there is no fuse. This is the scary part about this. There is no fuse for this. I don't understand why anything that could remotely be related to this system, or subsystem, right? The cellular, it's a subsystem of that Uconnect screen. There's no fuse. So, I mean, I don't know about you, but I find that disconcerting. But basically, you do have to remove the Uconnect screen, but you do not have to remove the Wi-Fi Bluetooth transceiver, necessarily. You do have to remove the bottom and the top glove box, which is, it's just a couple of screws. All of the screws, thankfully, all held up here, are all the exact same 7mm screw. I've used both a long and a short version of that, and for one of them I even used an extension because you have to get up under there. And while you're not going to see this very well, what it is that there is a box right here, that black box, and there's a silver shroud there. That is the cellular modem. So there's an FCC ID. So I went through here and looked at every single component, the FCC ID. What is its intention? What does it do? Well, that is the culprit right there. So there's no fuse on that I have seen. There might potentially be one down the way, so I'm not saying this is the best way to do this, but this is how I was able to do this. Now, all of the connections are on the other side, and I could confirm that they're the FCC ID. They actually had to register this thing, and so through the teardowns, you can see there is a circuit board and all that, but on the outside of the box, all the connections are, of course, on the engine side of things, not on the passenger side of things. So go ahead, and I try to get those dang connections off there, but they are stubborn, and they're not on this side, or this side, so it's hard to get, you know, access to that, and they're not on the bottom. What I was actually able to do, though, is, let me see if I can find it again, because I was digging pretty hard in here, is there is, oh, there it is right here. This guy, and now this one is actually marked in pink. Let me see, it's got, yeah, so this connection right here, this is power, and I want to say this is a data cable to Uconnect, and then the other, the primary controls, the ECU and all that, for the main computer for the engine, as well as transmission control and all that good stuff. So this sends out data back and forth, diagnostic data, user data, all that good stuff. As well as like Wi-Fi cellular connection. So it's an AT&T connection here. So this, by disconnecting this does drop power to everything. There are, of course, you have the ability to take this out if you could somehow reach in here. But the difficulty with this is I was finally able to barely get my arm in there, you know, from this side. And I can barely reach. I mean, there's a shroud cover right there. They put this on pretty dang early, and if this was not here, it would be much easier. But I'm not going to take out the heating and cooling component, the HVAC system. So I'm not going to pull that out of here just to get to this. I was able to disconnect this harness, and the other end of this, it runs. So it's a little farther back on the other side. It does run through this harness here. I think it goes over to the ECU, TCU, all that good stuff. So over there. Once you get that disconnected, we confirm that it will no longer, essentially, you can't access it from the app. And see, this is the interesting thing, is we had to actually disconnect this unit in order to make this happen. There is no fuse, whereas with the Ford, in the Ford Pass system, you pull the fuse and it still works, which is really very strange. I don't understand why that is. They actually have a TCU thing. This one's called the TBM, Telematics Box Module. Interesting how that works. I don't know, different things, you know, different names for the same thing here. So yes, disconnecting that, we have confirmed that you cannot unlock it. And just to show you, we are going to temporarily, so I can actually get this guy back in here. We just moved this to get it out of the way, but we can go ahead and reconnect that display. And again, I take photos of everything because you don't want to have troubles. It's an otherwise very nice vehicle, but let me just show you kind of what it looks like if we reconnect the harnesses, just to show you that it still works. So this is the RAM app. It's gonna be hard to see. That is the RAM itself. And if we go, let's see, lock. There, the passcode. Give it a second, and it may very well lock. There it goes. All right. And let's see, I can make it do the horn. shut up. So it works. We'll go ahead and do the disconnect here, and that little cable is so hard to get. Now we do have a check engine light that is still persistent even after plugging this stuff in, so we'll see if we can address that as well. I don't actually know that that's from this, because the Uconnect actually has an update anyways. Now this feature, this would not, of course, interfere with the Uconnect's ability to run USB updates. USB function's still here. It's just the cellular and GPS. So I'm sure this knocks out the compass as well, but I'll show you what is affected. Finally, I was able to loosen this bolt here, and yeah, I got these out here. That's stupid. So yeah, this is a pink harness. I also see pink over here, but I'm not sure that's like anything official. This guy is complaining about the check engine light, so I don't know if that's actually related to this, but I shut this guy off. Let's see now though, can we communicate with it? So we'll go lock, and yeah, nothing. So give that a second to finish up. I should be able to turn this guy on. Let's go run. Does the screen still work? Give it a second. Sirius XM is not going to work, so no available audio. All right, we'll go to FM here. There you go. So that does work. Does Bluetooth work? So let's see. So we have Android Auto. We're going to turn Aussie off. You can see that does still work. So that's good. Like, that's not a problem. Rear view camera still works. Cargo camera still works. That's great. And let's see, anything. Let's see, off-road pages. So those still work. Yep, which I find it interesting when it's in just run, not on. It still gives you some temps, which is cool. So pitch and roll, all that stuff will work. Now, GPS, the GPS module, of course, is not working here. I'm guessing like the GPS antenna itself is I'm not sure. But if we go to check for fuel, oh, weird. Somehow this is still, oh, is it connected to Wi-Fi? Maybe that's it. It's connecting to Wi-Fi to see if I could. Maybe it's that. So let's see, software updates. So let's see, let me go ahead and forget network. That's probably what it is. And it's connected to that one, so let me go ahead. Come on, buddy. Forget network. All right. Now does the nav work? Let's try food. Does food work? How in the world would that still work? That doesn't make any sense. Let's go to apps. Let's go to assist. Assist. Oop, go back. Assist. Loading data. Come on, buddy. Yeah, it shouldn't be able to load anything. I don't know how that navigation still works, or has it preloaded. That's possible that has it preloaded, but as you can see, like, we can't communicate with the vehicle. It should not be able to call out. It still has all the other sensors. Obviously, see, I'm wondering, I'm very curious about this. I'm very curious because I can't imagine it could load. Okay, let's try somewhere this truck has not been. I don't know how, if they preloaded these maps, which is totally possible. Let's just let's tap there. Drive. It's kind of an interesting demo. Yeah, that's weird. So let's go ahead and drive. Huh, okay, weird. Yeah, don't know how that's working, to be honest, but whatever. And then, of course, we still have, yep, that still works. And do heating and cooling, comfort, let's see, comfort, trucks on, vent, there we go. Vent, passenger vent is on, okay. And no butt bacon, so that's perfect. That still works. Let's see, heated steering wheel's on. Yeah, that's good. And so this system is just data. So I'm guessing that this is, because this is all TomTom. It's a TomTom navigation thing, apparently. I'm guessing that Stellantis has that, and TomTom just built into this. That must be what it is. I don't know how long you have to subscribe to TomTom. I haven't even signed up for it, so maybe that's the thing. I don't know. But yeah, we're gonna go run this over to one of the local stores, see if we can borrow their OBD2 reader and see if we can figure out why we have that check engine light. All right, you know, this is very strange because we do have that check engine light, but I actually have, and I didn't see this earlier, actually have an incorrect compass position. So that's interesting. There might actually be a workaround for that, and it might just be a software mod where it can use magnetic north rather than what it's basing off of GPS. It could also be that with GPS, because it takes a little bit longer to lock in, that's something that might update. OBD port right here, and so let's see what it says. Creating a report. Please record the mileage and return the tool. Huh. This is really quite interesting. So they give the other one in case they're worried like somebody's gonna steal it, and it just sends them the data. But this one is used to clear codes. So let's see if we can clear the codes. Erase, yes, done. Now if we turn it back on. So that system's disconnected still. You can show them that those unplugged cables in black.
Yep, back there, right here.
And look at that. So no check engine light. Let's go ahead and we'll drive back. I'll give this back. We got a permanent code of P0882, but I'm not worried about that. That is
TCM power input signal low.
Yeah, P0882. Yeah, so I think that's just a matter of like when you're unplugging things, that's what. Yeah, it's a very interesting one that they have stored pending. You can clear the stored ones, but transmission control module, I think is what that is. I'm not worried about that one bit, but these are just signals, just computer-y things. Yep, not returning, so it had absolutely nothing to do with that at all. And we're not, obviously it's not reporting. And yeah, you can see the compass hasn't come back, which I'm not worried about because we can go ahead and just make that something else. I could put temperature over there and another, so like there's battery, there's oil, temperature status, and so we can put another temperature sensor there or something like that. That should be fun.
Also has a very good sense of direction anyways.
Yeah.
He doesn't need the compass.
To be honest, I actually didn't know that was there until I started looking at like the differences very specifically. So I'll use my magnetic compass because I'm hard-headed like steel. Polarizing. I'm very polarizing. Shut the hell up. So that is pretty dang satisfying, I gotta say. Now, putting this all back together, probably easier than taking it apart for the first time because you're not as worried like, am I gonna mess something up? And to be honest, it's all pretty durable stuff. As long as you're not reckless with it, you can give things a good tug and they'll be just fine. So even things like this guy, pretty easy to pop out. You know, it's a lot of clips. You can see, yeah, there we go. So there's a lot of these clips, and so there's a lot of that. The rest of it, obviously, keep all of your screws. Don't be an idiot. Honestly, if that wasn't apparent to you to keep your screws, don't do this. But they're all the same screw except for the two that go on here. And so I'm going to show you how to put it back together, and the reverse will also be true. And I'll try to remember to link in a comment. I'll pin a comment that actually has a really good set of videos on how to take this portion apart from the 12-inch. It's very similar on the 8-inch that we used to have, down to this. A really good video on that. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna set this guy back in, and again, if we ever want to reconnect this for whatever reason, I can go ahead and just pop these guys back in. They were on the opposite side, now it's here. And there's no more error codes, there's nothing weird here. And just to show you, I know somebody's gonna ask, oh, does it affect the that still works. Double tap. It's ridiculous, but this works. And then if I double tap, shakes. All right. And again, if you wanted to go a little further, because I hate how hot this is. There's no, I mean, part of it might be engine heat, you know, there might be a little bit of that, but well after the truck had been cooled off, like the engine really wasn't hot, this was still extremely hot. And this is that Bluetooth and Wi-Fi transceiver. So you could easily disable that, test out on your own. I don't really want to do that right now, but you certainly could. And so let's get this top. Let me go ahead and we'll just make sure these guys aren't, well, we didn't hear any extra rattling, so I think these should be fine. You could zip tie these down if you wanted to. Go ahead, and this, they all kind of click in, which is good. But let's see, very delicately. Line up here. There we go. So it just sets in there. Let me get some screws. And again, these are 7mm. Just these little guys right like that. Yeah, nothing fancy. We'll reconnect this guy. Goes like this. So that's good. It's funny, there's a port here and there's a port here. I don't know what that sensor is, but it is very interesting. So that's good there. And then these rest on the next item. I will say, so let me think. 1, 2, I think 3, 4, 5, and don't forget, like most of these, right, you can leave that sensor on. Don't forget there is one guy right there, so 2 lines right back there. So you set it in there, pop that in place, and make sure it all still wiggles right, and you should be good. I don't, you know, there's nothing to obstruct it. So that's great. And now let's go ahead, and there should be, I know sometimes, yes, there are 2 screws underneath on either side of this guy. Just to kind of show you, you probably won't be able to see much, but one here, and I believe it's this guy right there. On this one, an extension is definitely necessary, but you need basically an Allen or a star bit. I forget if it's like a T28 or something like that. I just use an Allen key for those 2 screws, and then this 7mm, just a small little ratchet set. That's all you need. So let's go ahead. We have this guy back in, and let me see. So this guy does have clips. These snap in. Now here's another factor. Well, there's really 2 things. One, what if there was an over-the-air update that completely bricked your radio? You know, that is something that you may not have known about, or likely wouldn't have known about. However, you know, there's a good possibility that, you know, a bad update could affect your vehicle. Or if for some reason somebody wanted to go hanky, right? We know that there are little chips, and a simple set of commands can unlock and start and run and stop a Kia Soul, right? That's how they call them Kia boys. It's a little, like, basically a pretty easy hack that folks have figured out. And I think there's 2 vulnerabilities in those. And this is not a Kia, but there are 2 vulnerabilities. Do you want to run that remote risk of somebody getting a little hanky on you, you know, having a problem, or you're just in the right place at the wrong time, sort of thing, and they see your vehicle as a target? Or maybe, especially for folks like us who we live in our vehicles, or our trailers, or campers, or, you know, we might be hooked up at a rest stop or something like that, and somebody just comes along and goes, oh, let's have a little fun, let's try to get into that vehicle, see what's in there. Do you want to run the risk of that vulnerability? Personally, I do not. So it's completely up to you. Now again, you can still just run, you know, a dealer can go in and run these updates if they need to, but honestly, if it's not broken and it's not exposed, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, kind of thing. So the alternative, by the way, if you're like, man, I cannot reach that dang port back there, is you could potentially sounds ridiculous to say, as we're talking about privacy, you could potentially run foil around that, a couple layers of foil. 3 to 7 layers of foil should do it. As crazy as that sounds. Turns out tinfoil does block you know, radio signals. So that would do the trick there as well. Okay, that's in. That's in. Let's get this all tucked in. It's looking pretty good. Well, if I recall correctly, by the way, this is not a super thin bit of flat plastic. Like, these are pretty good bits of plastic. So, anywho, these should just clip in. There are no screws for these. We only have a few more screws. Okay, we should be able to clip in there. And so there's more clips there. Okay, and then we have another small little guy, just another trim piece that will go down. There we go. Okay, finally clipped in. So that has to slip in behind the shinier piece of plastic. So you shouldn't see any shiny there. That looks pretty good. So this guy is just like 3 little scoops in the back, and then there's 3 holes for it. And the hardest part is because this is like a slow drop, there's a little cable on this side that connects right into here. So you obviously, like, you set the one the center bit just in the fat part and then scoot it over, and that kind of locks it in. That's the hardest part every single time. But if you ever needed to change out your air filter, there you go, locks right in there. That is essentially how that goes. And you put your crap back in there and you never see it again. Those are good. Now let's get the center piece on, because yeah, again, you know, if you wanted to disable, like, say, the TomTom GPS if your unit's equipped, I don't like that, but we didn't, you know, wasn't really too many options on that front. If you needed to, I am sure that one of these, there's a one here and there's one behind it. I'm not going to dig into those yet because it's so easy to get into this guy. So this is not really the processing unit. I believe these are, and this is just the display. So what we're going to do is we have these cables here, and we have one up here. That's the 12-volt outlet. So go ahead, and just like it went in, and by the way, there's a cable here, a cable here. Just take a photo because they all have slightly different colorations, and then pin counts. So I'm just going to go ahead, take that guy, plug in, plug this guy in. All right, and then we're going to plug this guy in. This one's kind of a pain to get off. Plug that guy in though. There we go. All right, and again with those pins, so, or clips rather, clips, not pins. So it's going to sit. You can feel those click in down there. And it's going to make that crunching sound when you pull it off. But as you can see, I mean, this is all back together. You would never know. And then we're just going to wipe it down. But the last part is going to be these two guys. So I used an Allen key for this. You can use, I don't know if it's a T28, whatever that is, the star bit there. And they sit right in there. So they're nicely covered, of course. So we're going to go ahead and drop those in there. And if you would think that this wouldn't be very secure, I'm telling you, it actually does feel decently secure, to my surprise. Let me tell you, like, this all, you know, this does not feel like it's just going to come out. So we go ahead and tighten those down real quick. Okay. Clean everything up. And make sure everything's still running all right. And let's just make sure everything still works. So I fully expect, yeah, we can see, it must have a separate control unit for the, it's a TomTom navigation is what it is. And this guy still works well. Let's see. And once again, let's just go to AM radio. There's no, yeah, that works well.
Welcome to Sirius XM. It's all you ever need to hear everything you want.
Let's see, listen now. Huh, interesting, they pre-programmed some deals there. But yeah, this isn't working. But that's all right. Yeah, 70 rock. Yeah, all good there. Very.
And the spirit again.
Yep, that's all right. And then do we have our? There you go. Yeah, that's feeling pretty good. And there's not a scratch on it, just smudges. And that's the downside of this shiny plastic, right? But yeah, everything's working all right. But now it's not reporting back to RAM. So we did notice that as we left, when we checked the vehicle location, the mileage, all that good stuff, that's exactly what it was before. So yeah, no issues on that front. But if you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them. I'll try my best to answer. Of course, I'm not an engineer or anything like that, so or a mechanic. If there is an issue that comes up down the road, of course I'll let you guys know as well. And if you're wondering, like, does the assistant work? This is not going to work. Granted, this is another subscription, and let me see, I shouldn't even be able to call out at all, I would very well expect. So vehicle, let's just triple check. Let's try assist. Yeah, it's just gonna sit there and load data, is what we were seeing last night. Yeah, not gonna do a whole lot of anything. That doesn't bother me, so if that bothers you, don't do this. You know, I should also note that apparently you can call, and you probably have to send them a letter because they don't want a lot of people doing this. You can call and have them disable data collection. That does not mitigate the risk of bad software updates. It does not mitigate the risk of hacking or potential interference, accidental or intentional. That's just something to know. That's not something I'm that concerned about, but it is a factor for sure. So if you don't want to be tracked, if you don't want to, you know, this might be a good option for you, or don't. Just use the features and enjoy it, or just forget about it. And one thing to know is if when you're signing up with dealerships and things like that, every bit of information you give them also goes to Stellantis, which also goes to their partners. So just keep that in mind. So maybe even use a like we have a work phone number, and then we have a work email, and that's what they get. They don't get our private, you know, regular emails and all that. So lots more on that topic, but I hope this was interesting or helpful. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.